In May of 2023, 2 years ago, 2-year-old Vienna Rose Irwin was found dead in a closed-lid septic tank at a licensed daycare near Cobourg, Ontario. Police weren't called, her parents weren't notified, and no one was searching for her when her mother arrived for pickup. No charges were laid, and so the family has since filed a lawsuit to compel all involved parties to testify under oath, and I have the statement of claim. So let's dig in. It's every parent's worst fear and has the community absolutely heartbroken over 2 years later. It's a tragedy that's left a family shattered and demanding answers and justice for 2-year-old Vienna Rose Irwin, who is found dead in what her family alleges was a preventable accident or incident at Watch Me Grow Daycare in Cobourg, Ontario on May 25th, 2023. A statement of claim filed by the family on May 23rd, 2025 by Vienna's mother, Claire Irwin, and her family paints a chilling picture of negligence, oversight, and a failure to protect the most vulnerable among us. Let's walk through the timeline of this devastating case and what the family is fighting for. So here's what we know based on these legal documents. Vienna Irwin was born on March 30th, 2021, a bright, beloved toddler who brought joy to her parents, Claire and Clay Irwin, and her grandparents, who were also named in the suit. In May of 2023, Vienna was attending Watch Me Grow Daycare, located at 4581 County Road 45 in Cobourg, a place her family obviously trusted to keep her safe. The daycare was owned and operated by Diane Dennis, with Edward Dennis listed as a co-owner of the property. Several employees, including names like Amanda Fisher, Cassandra Alexander, Emily Hare, and others, were responsible for supervising the children, including Vienna. But sometime before Vienna's scheduled pickup on May 25th, 2023, things went terribly wrong. You see, the daycare's supposed to be safe and secure playground had a 9,000-liter concrete septic tank manufactured by Brooklyn Concrete Products with risers and lids supplied by Tough Tight Inc. The Halliburton Kawartha Pine Ridge District Health Unit, which is now called Lakelands Public Health under a new merger, was responsible for inspecting the daycare, including the septic system. According to the claim, this tank wasn't just a piece of equipment. It was a ticking time bomb, left unsecured and unchecked. On that fateful day, again, May 25th, between 4:48 p.m. and 5 p.m., it's being alleged that Vienna was brought outside to the daycare's rear playground in a moment that no parent can imagine. She somehow managed to fall into this unsecured access riser of the septic tank, a hazard located right in the play area where toddlers were running around. The claim says that the riser lacked proper safety screws, a fall prevention device, or even a warning sign. Trapped in the septic tank, Vienna tragically suffered fatal injuries. Despite efforts to save her, she was gone. A life cut short because, as the family claims, multiple parties failed her. The Irwin family's lawsuit names a long list of defendants, and they're not holding back. They allege negligence, breach of contract, and even nuisance against the daycare operators and their staff. The accusations are staggering: failure to supervise Vienna, ignoring the unsecured septic tank, not training staff properly, and even being distracted by mobile devices while children were in their care. They claim the daycare didn't follow safety protocols, failed to inspect the playground, and didn't even have enough qualified early childhood educators on duty. It's a laundry list of failures that, if true, created a deadly environment for a 2-year-old. But it doesn't stop there. The family's also pointing fingers at the manufacturers for installing the tank without proper safety features, like a fall prevention device called a kitty catcher that could have saved Vienna's life. The excavation company is also accused of installing the tank unsafely, while the contractor who pumped the tank is alleged to have failed to secure it during maintenance. Even the local health unit is accused of approving an unsafe septic system during their inspections. The Irwin family is seeking $7 million in damages, $1 million for special damages, $5 million for general damages, and another $1 million for punitive damages, because they believe Vienna's death was not just a tragedy, but a preventable betrayal of trust. They're fighting for justice, not just for Vienna, but to ensure that no other family endures this pain. The loss of a child is unimaginable, and the mental distress, nervous shock, and loss of companionship Claire, Clayton, and their family are enduring is a wound that may never heal. One part of the court filing that stood out most to me was when it said the plaintiffs have sustained a loss of guidance, care, and companionship that they might reasonably have expected to receive from Vienna if she had not been killed. I am sure they don't use that word lightly. Yet the Ontario Provincial Police closed their investigation without laying any charges. No one has been held accountable for Vienna's tragic and untimely death. It's infuriating because there were failures at multiple levels, from the daycare owners to the installers, manufacturers, and even the health unit that rubber stamped it all. We know that the system can move quickly when it wants to. Just look at what happened a few weeks back in Richmond Hill when a 70-year-old driver plowed his SUV into First Roots Early Education Academy, tragically killing an 18-month-old and injuring 6 toddlers and 3 staff. He was slapped with charges within days: dangerous operation causing death and bodily harm. And a policy change was almost instant. The Ministry of Education, which oversees daycares, jumped in, mandating no more caregiver parking right in front of daycares, blocking spots near windows, entryways, and playgrounds with pylons and barriers until permanent fixes like bollards are in place. Education Minister Paul Calandra didn't hesitate. He ordered immediate action to protect kids from rogue vehicles. So why this double standard? Why hasn't Vienna's case reached the ears of those same decision makers? Imagine the swift mandate: ban flimsy septic lids, enforce concrete risers with tamper-proof screws, mandate safety screens, and require daily inspections in every daycare ground. Simple fixes that could have kept Vienna safe and alive. Why the lightning response for parking lots, but a shrug for a septic tank that is alleged to have drowned a child? At the heart of some of this outrage is Crown Attorney Paul Tate, or as some are calling him, the man who looked the other way. Earning nearly $300,000 a year as Director of Crown Operations in the Attorney General's office, he is alleged to have made the call not to press charges against anyone owning or operating that daycare. So I've reached out to all of them: Paul Tate, Dr. Heyer, Ontario's Chief Coroner, who has the power to call an inquest into Vienna's death, and Minister Calandra about the lack of oversight on outdoor hazards, particularly regarding septic systems in play areas. Only Dirk Heyer, the Chief Coroner, responded to my request, and he confirmed that while an inquest would take years and lacks accountability mechanisms, the fastest thing to do was to generate a report with recommendations, even if it came 2+ years after the fact. Have a listen.
What I did is I organized for a chief coroner review. And so I evaluated all the circumstances, understood what happened with the death, and I brought together groups or organizations who had people who were knowledgeable in daycare, knowledgeable about septic tanks, and knowledgeable about public safety. And I brought them together, and we reviewed the circumstances of the death together. And then recommendations were proposed, and discussion occurred to help to inform the likelihood of those being reasonable and practical recommendations. And I prepared a chief coroner review report with recommendations, which I sent to organizations that I believe are responsive to recommendations. And I asked for them to consider those recommendations and report back their responses within 6 months. And that's where we're at with the process right now.
So would that report have been made public?
No, it's not a public report. It went to the individual ministries. The family have the opportunity to make that public if they wish. We don't typically make our death investigation reports public, but it has gone out to many different ministries, and the family would have a copy of it as well. Okay.
That's good to know. And so in there, I suppose, can you discuss the contents of that report and specifically around the questions that I posed about the septic safety?
Well, I have not spoken with the family in detail. The family may be fine with me speaking about the report, but I'd like to have the opportunity to meet with them, which I'm doing next week, prior to having that conversation. But what I can say is we specifically considered potential safety issues related to septic tanks in licensed childcare settings and made recommendations to respond to the issues that we identified. That's kind of a vague answer, but frankly, yes. We considered specifically septic tank issues at daycares and made recommendations that we felt were responsive to the terrible tragedy that occurred.
You see, without accountability, it's basically a green light for more of this to take place. The Irwins deserve their day in court to put those responsible on the stand, under oath, and force the truth out. In a world that can mandate parking changes almost overnight, maybe we should demand the same urgency for septic safety. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. I'd previously filed access to information requests about that septic tank, who was inspecting it, when it was done, and what kind of work was conducted around the time that Vienna was found dead inside of it. If you'd like to support this kind of journalism and these kind of investigations, you can do so at rebelinvestigates.com. That's rebelinvestigates.com.